Hi, it's Stephen here from Son of an Ocean Wave, and this is day 14 of the February daily draws. As we start the weekend, let's see what message we get. And I'll be taking the first card from the Gilded Tarot Royale, followed by an oracle card from the Seasons of the Witch, Imbolc Oracle. So let's choose our first card and get the reading underway. Okay, here we go. We have the Justice card today. So this is... Yes, this is... It kind of follows on from what we've had the past couple of days. About weighing things up. We've got the scales here, weighing options up. When we had the Two of Swords, the different options. When we had the other cards, the Seven of Cups, with the choices and possibilities and all that kind of thing. So we have here the Justice card, which, yes, the scales help us to weigh things up. But always with this card, I always think of, first of all, of objectivity. Justice should be, as far as possible, from an objective point of view, not subjective, not based on emotion, not based on preconceived ideas, not biased opinions, but an objective evaluation of the evidence and the facts presented. And we weigh those up. So if we're weighing something up, if we're trying to make a decision, come to a conclusion or an assessment of something, almost some kind of verdict on a situation, then we need to weigh the evidence, but we need to do it objectively. We don't put extra weight one side or the other because of what we would prefer to be the outcome or the choice or decision. We don't put we don't sort of try and influence it in any way from our own preconceived ideas and personal opinions. No, we take an objective look at the situation at hand, and we try and assess it going by what we know to be true, not what we feel or perceive to be true in our minds, but what is, from an objective point of view, from anybody looking in, that this evidence points this way. And we weigh it up, the pros and cons, the evidence for, the evidence against, this kind of thing. We almost do it like, we're treating it almost like doing a court case. We don't have to do it exactly online, but it's just an illustration, on those lines, about the objectivity and the reliance and the respect for the truth of the matter, where there is equality in the way we treat things. Like people should be treated equally under the law, regardless of social standing, material wealth, or other criteria, gender, or whatever the situation. Different people, there may be different types of people, but they should all be treated the same under the law when they're presenting a case. That's the equality. There isn't necessarily an equality sometimes people think because this is Libra and balance and it's a scale sign, and sometimes they think that, because like here the scales are level, that we should have the balance, there should be equal measure on both sides. But not when assessing a situation, unless that's how it turns out. There can be, if we're having choices, for instance, in weighing the evidence for each, they could have the same amount of weighted evidence and facts in their favor. And so both decisions have got equal value. And that's where, like with the Two of Swords, we have to go by our gut feeling, our intuition, as to which choice to make. But normally, like for instance, when say like a court case takes place, and the scales of justice and the evidence presented, which one has the most evidence? Does which side are the scales going to come out? Guilty, not guilty. Where's the most of the evidence? If the evidence for guilt far outweighs anything that might indicate innocence, it's not such a clear-cut thing. The analogy breaks down a little bit there. There's nuances with that. But if you look, basically, if there's a heavy weight for guilt, and this side comes down way down and raises the other side up, obviously, then you come on the side of guilty. If not, if there's little weight for the guilt, then you have to assume more weight to the innocence and then acquit. So that's how you objectively assess. So the scales don't have to balance equally unless the facts of the situation naturally make that the case. So I know a lot of people think it needs to be 50-50. We need to show equal measure on both sides to a situation. Not necessarily. This isn't that. I don't believe it's that. It can, on that occasion, perhaps, that we need to give, but it's not that it's a 50-50 in your favor and a 50-50 in your favor. No, it's we give you equal weight of any evidence. But if you have more evidence than the other person, then that carries more weight. But we treat the evidence the same on either side. For the those coming to prosecute, those coming to defend, the evidence has the same value. It's just that who has the most convincing evidence from an objective point of view, and it's the objectivity here that is the key. So if we're struggling with that, if we're struggling to assess something, our feelings are getting in the way, our emotions, our preconceived ideas, and we're struggling to find an objective point of view, we're not able to stand back from it and look, we're too closely linked. That's why an outside sort of opinion or look on it with someone that hasn't got a vested interest, that's got no skin in the game, that's got no preconceived ideas about the matter, it doesn't really matter to them either way. They're just going to look at the situation factually and truthfully, and they'll give an objective opinion. So if we're struggling with that, maybe go to somebody that we can trust, to either professional or just or someone else that we trust, depending on the situation, of course. If it's anything of, like, say, like a legal matter, you need professional legal advice. This is not that. This is and just asking a friend is not necessarily the best thing to do, no matter how well they may advise you or how much you trust them. If they're not professionals, they're probably not skilled enough to be able to assess the nuances of your situation. So you need to go to a professional, you need to seek professional help. But outside of that, if it's just a situation, in general situation, then yes, somebody that can look at it from the outside, can look in and perhaps see things a bit more clearly, a bit more fairly than you can. If if you feel that you can be objective, then do that. Stand back and look at it objectively. But if not, then you may need to get an outside opinion, and that may be what's being indicated here. Okay, so let's see which candle dressing. Sharp as nails, engraving, my will, intention, spoken, declare what will be. Set your intention to find the objective reality and truth of a matter. Not something that's influenced by the way you feel about it, the way it makes you feel, so it may make you lean a certain way. No. By your intention, this is a card of intention, setting firm intentions about what you want. Set your intention to find the real, true situation, the objective truth on which to base your conclusions and assessment and decisions. And set your intention that if necessary, you will seek outside help. These cards are maybe saying to us that maybe you're too close to something to give an objective assessment. At least at the moment, you're too close to the situation. Your feelings are clouding your judgment. So you need to either remove that, stand back away from it a bit to get the clarity you need, or get an outside opinion, an outside assessment. And I believe that is the message of the cards today. Okay, so that's today's message. I'll be back tomorrow with day 15. Until then, thank you for listening. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon. Okay, bye-bye.